Speech API is ready. You can start working. Story 1. Emile dumbfounded her daughter, chooses to live with her husband and not her. I've been following this up for a while now and recently shared some posts with my dad that reminded him of the struggles my parents faced, particularly with my maternal grandmother, my dad's Emile. Thankfully, she's now in a retirement home, so her toxic influence is mostly contained to those who choose to visit her. My dad doesn't spend much time online, but after hearing about some of the stories here, he shared one of his own, one that serves as a lesson for young couples about to get married. Back in the 80s, when my parents first met, they came from similar backgrounds, both raised by single mothers and growing up in poverty. My mom had a lot of siblings, and as the eldest, she was her mother's golden child. My dad, on the other hand, was an only child. When they started dating, my dad wanted to show both his love for my mom and his respect for her mother, would bring flowers to both of them whenever he visited. My grandmother, however, quickly became upset that the bouquets my dad gave my mom were often bigger and more elaborate than hers, and she demanded that he get her the same level of flowers. At the time, my dad was living off a minimum wage job, and though he loved my mom, he simply couldn't afford to keep up the flower buying for both women. Eventually, he stopped giving flowers altogether, which, unsurprisingly, enraged my grandmother. She started seeing this as the beginning of an ongoing war between her and my dad. "How dare he stop giving me beautiful flowers?" she would shout to my mom. Despite my grandmother's presence and her hostility, my parents dated for a couple of years. Eventually, my dad proposed, and my mom happily said yes. They got married in a small, secret courthouse ceremony with just the two of them and two friends as witnesses. Both mothers were upset about the wedding, but my dad's mom eventually came around when she saw how much my mom loved and supported my dad. My grandmother, however, went ballistic. She claimed the marriage was invalid because she had never agreed to it. My mom was 23 at the time and refused to accept that her daughter was now married. It's worth noting that at the time, no one knew, but my grandmother had recently been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and untreated bipolar disorder, which likely contributed to her entitled and erratic behavior. Fast forward, my dad had managed to take on a second part-time job, and over the course of their 2-year courtship, he saved up enough money to get a small apartment, some used furniture, and an old but working car. When my mom went back to her mother's house to pack up her things and move in with my dad, her mom asked her, "Why are you leaving me? Why can't you just stay here and he can live in his own place? You could just go there during the day and keep all your stuff here and stay with me and your siblings?" That was the moment, my dad says, that he saw my mom truly angry for the first time. In my dad's words, she shouted at her mother, "Are you insane? I'm married. Whether you like it or not, he's my husband, the man I'm choosing to spend my life with. I'm going to live in a home we're building together. My brothers and sisters can visit anytime, but you will never set foot in my home until you can acknowledge that my husband is a good man who's good to me. He's even good to you, and you don't deserve it." My grandmother was so shocked by my mom standing up to her like that she didn't know how to react at first. But when she realized she was losing my mom, she started crying, claiming that her heart was breaking and that she had no one left. My oldest uncle stepped in and shut her down by asking her if she valued her other children so little, then proceeded to help my parents load up their car. Before they left, my grandmother's parting words to my mom were, "I'll never forgive you." To which my mom replied, "I don't give a flying fuck. If I hear you're taking it out on my sister and brothers, I'll take them too." And with that, they drove off and started their new life together. After telling me this story, my dad's advice was simple but powerful. Husband or wife, make sure the person you marry has the courage to stand up to their own parents. You'll live a much more peaceful and happy life. Comment 1. Your mom is a champ. My grandmother's parting words to my mom before they drove off were, I'll never forgive you, to which my mom replied, I don't care. If I hear you're taking it out on my sister and brothers, I'll take them too. I'm blinded by that spine. High five to your mom. My dad's words of advice after telling me this story. Husband or wife, make sure the person you marry has the balls to stand up to their own parents. You'll live a more peaceful, happy life. Your dad is very wise. I'm in awe of both of your parents. Comment 2. I never understand the whole line these JNs have of, I didn't give permission for my adult offspring to marry another adult. So clearly, it's not legal. Like, from whence are they getting this notion? Whatever hamster is running the brain wheel that day. Story 2. A mild meltdown because car accident wasn't about her and the reason she was finally cut out of our lives. I've gotten a lot of messages asking if my parents or I still keep in touch with my grandmother. My dad's a mile. To answer, I haven't seen her since I was in early grade school, and my parents haven't spoken to her since around the same time. Recently, I asked my mom for the full story of why they decided to go no contact with her, and she shared the following with me. Apologies for the long post, but I think it's worth sharing. By the mid to late 80s, my parents were working full-time and part-time jobs to save up for a house deposit. We were living in a cramped apartment, and my parents had one car between them. To make things work, my mom's siblings would babysit my brother and me during the day and sometimes in the evenings while one or both of my parents worked. On one occasion, my mom had to work overtime, so my dad decided to take me and my brother out for ice cream as a treat while we waited to pick her up. Unfortunately, on the way to Baskin-Robbins, another driver ran a red light and hit the rear of our car as my dad was turning left. Luckily, the only serious injury was my broken wrist, but my dad and brother both had minor cuts, and we were all shaken up. The other driver checked to see if we were okay, and a bystander called 911. We were all taken to the hospital as a precaution, especially because my brother was so young and the EMTs were concerned about head trauma, along with my broken wrist. While we were at the hospital, my dad called my mom to let her know what happened. She immediately got a ride from a coworker and arrived at the hospital shortly after. As my brother and I were being treated, my mom called her mom, Emile, to let her know what was going on. When my grandmother found out, she grabbed the phone from my aunt and demanded to go to the hospital immediately. Emile, I need to go there right now. I want to be sure my grandchildren are okay. Mom, Dad's name, and I are already here. The kids are being seen now. Me is getting a cast, and brother is just waiting on an x-ray. Emile, you need to pick me up right now. The boys need me. I'm their grandmother. You don't understand my pain. Mom, now frustrated, you need to stop right there and give the phone back to my sister. Do you hear me? These are my children, and my family was just in a car accident. The only place you need to be is in a psych ward. Now give the phone back to my sister. Emile, can Dad's name pick me up then? You're so selfish for not letting me be there with them. Mom, furious, I'm done. You want my husband to pick you up when he's just been in an accident with our kids? You will never see my children again. Do you understand, you crazy bitch? Now give the phone to my sister. At that point, my aunt grabbed the phone back and told my mom not to worry and that they'd handle things on their end. She assured my mom that she could focus on making sure my dad and brother were okay, and they'd update her later. In the background, my mom could hear my grandmother wailing about needing to see her boys, but my mom was beyond angry by then. It was in that moment she decided she didn't want my brother and me exposed to her anymore, and after discussing it with my dad, they both agreed to cut her off. My mom later told me, I always knew my own mother wasn't right. She never physically hurt us, but she couldn't stand the idea of someone going through something hard without trying to make it about herself. I could escape her by going to your grandparents' house, but I didn't want you or your brother to have to deal with that level of selfishness. So, I cut her off, and we've been much happier for it. I told her I agreed, and she added thoughtfully, when it comes to your spouse and children, you protect them at all costs, even if it means cutting ties with your own family. Don't ever be afraid to do that. Comment 1. When it comes to your spouse and kids, you do anything to protect them, even if it's from your own extended family. Don't ever be afraid to do that. Wise words. Your mom understands what's truly important. Thank goodness she shielded yub guys from her own mother's brand of crazy. Comment 2. It's like she couldn't stand the idea of someone going through something tragic without trying to be a part of it. You just described one of the huge problems with my own MIL far more eloquently and accurately than I have ever been able to put it into words. Kudos to your mom for putting an end to the BS. Comment 3. This blows my mind. Can you come pick me up in the car you no longer have because it was in an accident? What? Story 3. She showed up at my home. My MIL is the textbook definition of a manipulative, narcissistic boy mom. If you've read my previous posts, you know the history, but the short version? She once got into bed with us while we were sleeping on a family vacation, physically attacked me, tried to hit me, then flipped the narrative to paint me as the violent one. She's verbally abusive, gossips nonstop, and has even talked trash about random kids she sees in public. She's been toxic for years, and we've been VLC/NC because of it. Since my last update, she hasn't stopped. She's continued trash-talking me and my husband behind our backs to anyone who will listen, friends, family, probably strangers at this point, and of course, it always finds its way back to us. But what finally pushed us to cut her off completely was her mocking my looks and my sexuality at a family event, while I was in the bathroom and could hear every word. And somehow, things have only gotten worse. Now, family members are reaching out, trying to guilt us into reconciling. We're hurting the family, apparently. We'll regret this when she dies, but no one's asking if she will regret what she's done, especially when we eventually have children. Spoiler, she won't. Then, last week, while my husband and I were finishing up work from home, there was a knock at the door. I answered, and guess who it was? Mil. She asked if my husband was home. I shut the door in her face and told him. He immediately went cold with anger. He stepped outside to talk to her, because one of our house rules is that she's not allowed inside anymore after mocking our home and decor. Yes, really. Naturally, I listened through the window. She ranted at him about how we've made it impossible for her to fix things because we don't want a relationship with her. Okay, cool. Accurate. She said she's the victim because people shouldn't have told us all the horrible things she's been saying behind our backs. And she's forgiven those people. What? So let me get this straight. She talks endless crap about us, gets caught, and instead of taking accountability, she forgives them for being honest with us? And now those same people are mad that we confronted her? I'm so done with the whole family at this point. Then she hit us with this gem. There are plenty of other kids I can be there for if DH doesn't want me around. Let's be clear, DH is in his mid-30s and building a life with me. He is not a kid. But she collects young adults, mostly teens and people in their early 20s, under the guise of mentoring them. In reality, she invites them over to do chores, buys them things to gain control, then trashes them behind their backs to boost her own image. It's all about appearing generous and good, because that image makes it harder for people to believe how toxic she is to us. She especially ramped this up after getting out of mental hospital, where she started bringing home other patients to drink and party under the same mentoring lie. And now she thinks we'll let her around our future children? Absolutely not. She also said, I'll accept being the crazy one if it means you'll let me back in. Translation: she refuses to take responsibility for anything and wants us to ignore her abuse as long as we acknowledge she's just crazy. Sure, she may have some underlying mental health issues. Antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic tendencies are likely, but she knows what she's doing is wrong. That's why she lies and hides it. And you know what? I'm so damn proud of my husband. He told her straight up, if she had just taken accountability, acknowledged what she did, apologized sincerely, and changed her behavior, we wouldn't be here. He told her constant shit-talking has alienated us from the rest of the family and made it so we no longer have any reason to show up for holidays or birthdays. She was shocked, tried to backpedal everything in one breath. But my husband held firm. He told her, these are the consequences of your actions. That's that. When he came back inside, he was heartbroken. He needed space. I gave him some time, took the dog for a walk, and by the time I got back, life went back to normal. We haven't spoken of her since, but I still carry so much anger. Maybe I'll share more someday, like the time she tried to explain why she attacked me, or how she outed me at a family birthday party and somehow justified it to herself. There's just so much to unpack, and I honestly don't know if I'll ever stop being angry about it. Comment 1. People saying we will regret this when she dies one day. It will be a day of relief, joy, and celebration. Those coddling flying monkeys are almost as bad as her. Unfit to be in contact with. Comment 2. It must have been so traumatic for you to see her after all this time. She's been thoroughly horrible to you and your husband. She's also a certified nut. I'm glad your husband managed to take care of her. If she shows up when he's not home, I call the cops. I wish you guys all the happiness in the world. You've been put through the ringer. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.